He sells nothing you can touch, but everything you can become. They call him the dream merchant, and he deals in the invisible currency of belief. In his shop, a sigh can turn into starlight, and a wish can begin to take form before waking finds you. Yet the true wonder is not in what he offers, but in what he awakens. For every dream he shares is a mirror for your own hidden power, the quiet truth that imagination is not illusion, but creation in seed. And somewhere beyond that whisper, a market begins to glow. The market where dreams. Glow begins at the very edge of sound and thought, where silence turns soft enough to hear. It isn't a marketplace of noise or barter, but of stillness, a place where you don't buy or sell, but simply notice. Lanterns awaken like low stars above quiet paths. Their glow doesn't fill the air. It rests upon it, tender and waiting. Have you ever felt that what you seek might already be waiting, just beyond the noise of your own mind? Here, that sense becomes real. The streets drift between dusk and dawn, neither one nor the other. Air carries the faint scent of sandalwood and amber, each breath deepening calm rather than stirring movement. Curtains of fabric stir without wind, their shimmer soft as thought taking shape. The market is not built of stalls so much as spaces that reveal themselves when attention lingers. A single bowl faintly shines though it holds only air. A clasp glints, though nothing is fastened to it. A mirror sways, but rather than a face, it reflects something not yet born, possibility itself. Every item hums quietly, a vibration more felt than heard. It is less a collection of goods than a series of mirrors, each reflecting the silent potential within whoever looks. The merchant walks among these quiet offerings, his pace unhurried. He neither calls nor gestures, but his presence steadies the air, as though the act of seeing were invitation enough. Even the sound of the unseen bells seems to follow that rhythm, appearing, vanishing, reminding you that attention itself has weight. Silence deepens here, almost textured. Each detail, the color, the scent, the still air, invites you to slow down. The outer world begins to fade, leaving only the soft pulse of awareness. The market seems designed for this very turning inward. It rewards stillness the way a pond rewards patience. The longer you wait, the clearer the reflection becomes. When he finally greets you, it is without words. A simple nod, steady and sure. There's no pressure to respond. Stillness becomes its own conversation. The merchant's calm reminds you that true listening doesn't always require sound. It begins with presence. Around him, the air carries faint murmurs of imagery. The mirror shifts again, catching a trace of smoke and showing hints of what could unfold. For a moment, it's hard to tell whether you are witnessing or creating what appears. That subtle uncertainty is the point. This place teaches that imagination is not escape, but origin. Here, to look is to begin shaping what might be. He moves through the haze like someone tending a living garden rather than a store. Each object glows a little brighter near him, responding not to touch, but to awareness. What he offers are not things, but invitations. Doorways in the form of quiet sensations. You sense that the real exchange has nothing to do with owning. The currency here is attention, and the cost is your willingness to stay. A shimmer draws your gaze to another stall. A woman stands there, still as candlelight. She peers into a small bowl where faint sparks drift and coalesce into patterns resembling memory. She doesn't speak. No one does. The merchant only inclines his head once, and that simple gesture completes the offering. She departs lighter, though nothing passes between them but awareness. Time feels thin here, without edges. The movement of your own breath replaces clocks and conversation. Inhaling, you draw in possibility. Exhaling, you release what no longer belongs. The rhythm soothes the mind's usual tightening. It's here in such quiet repetition that imagination has room to expand. The market reflects this principle in every detail. Calm attention draws form from formlessness. At last, the merchant turns toward you. His eyes hold a trace of starlight. When he speaks, the sound is no louder than the brush of silk across skin. Dreams, he says, are more real than they appear. The words hum through the stillness, resonating more in the heart than in the air. You feel them settle, simple, clear, undeniable. For a moment, nothing else exists. His voice unwraps the silence rather than breaks it. The fabrics shimmer differently. Even the smoke folds upon itself, reshaping the space. That single phrase changes your sense of what this market is. It isn't a place for trade. It's an unfolding lesson disguised as beauty. Each stall offers not wares, but wisdom. The price is never coin, only the attention required to see. He moves again, bells sighing faintly in his wake. The incense trails softer, touched by the scent of rain. Everything responds, alive in quiet synchronization. The fabrics seem to breathe, rising and falling like a slow tide. In that rhythm, your thoughts ease away from old certainty, making room for something new to enter. And then comes understanding. This market is not distant. It lives in every moment where calm meets curiosity. Whenever you stop reaching and start observing, you step into it again. The glow you see is within, the tremor of awareness before creation begins. The merchant's gaze meets yours once more. This time, the question is not whether to buy, but whether to notice fully. You feel the pull of what comes next, an invitation to understand what it means to tend a dream rather than chase one, to let possibility root instead of remain imagined. The air stills around you, holding breath for the lesson to come. The merchant's first lesson begins without fanfare. He gestures toward a cushion beside him, its surface quiet in the dim light, and waits for you to sit. When you do, he places a small glass bowl between you. Inside it rests sand that glows from within, a soft, steady rhythm, neither flame nor shadow. Each breath seems to stir the surface, as though the air itself were shaping possibility. You ask how the sand shines. He answers with a calm smile, voice barely louder than thought. Each grain, he says, was once part of a dream someone tended with care. Most forgotten, some fulfilled. The light you see is memory crystallized by devotion. You lean closer. The glow feels alive, not in movement, but in presence, pulsing with the quiet certainty of continuation. The merchant waits, letting silence carry the meaning further than words could. A dream, he says at last, is not something you find, but something you grow. The phrase sinks deep. It feels less like instruction and more like a reminder you already knew. His tone has no force, only quiet truth, unfolding at its own rhythm. You sense that this lesson isn't about acquiring, but awakening, a return to the still ground where all beginnings take root. He draws a slow line through the sand with one fingertip. As seeds need soil, dreams need belief. The line smooths away as easily as doubt leaving the mind. Without belief, there's nothing for them to hold. His fingertip hovers, and the glow beneath answers, swelling almost imperceptibly. As water yields to the pull of the moon, the world yields to the pull of your inner vision. You watch, noticing how the light strengthens when your attention steadies. It dims again when thoughts scatter. He nods once, satisfied. See how the bowl responds? It listens, not to wanting, but to regard. The words fall like gentle percussion, one after another, until the silence between them becomes its own teacher. He waits a moment before continuing. Thought is not empty, he says softly. It shapes what it touches. Reality begins in the quiet laboratory of the mind. His phrasing lands with clarity. Here, imagination is not idle fantasy. It is rehearsal for becoming. Each steady thought sows structure. Each repetition in feeling calls unseen forms to life. You realize his teaching mirrors something you have brushed against before. The law that inner assumption brings outer realization. He does not name it so. He simply lives it. To see with faith, he says, is to begin living what you see. The idea is simple and radical at once. Whatever the mind holds with devotion begins to shape matter itself. For a while, nothing moves but the slow shimmer within the glass. You notice how belief feels, not forceful, not loud, but enduring. He watches you understand. Most wait for proof before trusting, he says. But the tree does not appear before the seed believes in spring. His hand traces a small arc above the bowl, as if sketching the unseen pattern of growth. You let his words settle. A quiet warmth spreads through your chest, delicate but certain. You sense that what he's offering is not mysticism, but a discipline of focus. Every thought, every assumption, every imagined scene contributes to the shaping of your world. What you return to with feeling returns to you in form. The glow of the sand cycles between shadow and shimmer as your awareness shifts. He does not interrupt. When your focus steadies again, the rhythm finds balance. You realize the bowl is not responding to emotion, but to attention. The constant, patient kind that feels like belief in motion. Finally, he speaks again, voice low. Fantasy fades because it asks nothing of you, he says. Imagination, when tended with belief, asks for your becoming. His gaze holds yours, direct and calm. Between you, the sand flickers in quiet confirmation. The truth is simple. Imagination is not escape. It is creation rehearsing itself. You breathe slower, and the bowl responds as though aware of your rhythm. The merchant's expression remains serene, his tone quiet but unwavering. Belief, he says, is not certainty. It is attention that stays. The phrase lands clear and solid. Several grains of sand flare momentarily, then rest again, light diffused across the surface. You sense the weight of that patience, the strength that comes from returning to a vision again and again, even before results appear. His hand hesitates above the bowl, and suddenly the reflection includes both of you. When belief replaces doubt, he says, light replaces shadow. The glow expands briefly, illuminating your hands where they rest upon your knees. The moment is small but vivid, anchored in felt awareness. You see now that this radiance is not magic. It's consciousness made visible, focus given form. Your thoughts drift, touching forgotten dreams, ideas once planted but left untended. The merchant reads the shift without effort. Dreams grow by the tending of belief, he reminds you. Nothing else. His tone carries the weight of something eternal but kind. the meaning lingers. Care is creation's pulse. Even overlooked visions wait for the warmth of renewed attention. You imagine what it might mean to live by this truth, to act as if what you seek is already forming beneath the soil of mind. The folding glow in the bowl feels like proof enough. The merchant rises quietly, his presence grounded yet gentle. "You have seen what thought can do," he says. "Now ask yourself whether you can live as though your dream were already taking root." He turns slightly, and the last threads of light soften into the grain. The bowl's illumination fades, but the stillness remains charged. You feel the lesson continuing inside, an inner echo rather than a conversation's end. The merchant's eyes meet yours one more time, steady, companionable, as if inviting patience for whatever lesson follows. Beyond the curtain of dust-hued air, a pathway begins to open, leading deeper into his teaching. What if creating a dream required the same patience as taming a wild creature? The merchant walks ahead, and you follow into a quiet courtyard where stone and water meet in still rhythm. Shadows stretch long over the ground, broken by soft ripples from a shallow channel. In the center, a small silver bird waits, delicate, alert. Its feathers catch the last light and turn it into motion. It looks, then looks away, wary but willing to stay. The merchant does not speak. The lesson has already begun. Your breath feels too loud at first. Each small movement sends the bird's attention darting. You find yourself wanting it to trust you, to rest near your hand. But each flicker of desire makes it lift and shift further away. You notice the futility of reaching forward. The merchant stands motionless, presence as calm as the evening air. Patience, it seems, is the first tool of tending. At length, the merchant's voice comes, quiet, measured. "To tame is to create tie," he says, "and ties are not formed in haste. You must return gently until attention itself becomes home." He glances toward the bird, then to you. What you attend to, you invite closer. Attention is the rope that binds vision to form, the words settle. You sense the connection between patience, attention, and the creative act he's guiding you toward. You exhale slowly, releasing the urge to chase. The bird does not flee this time. It blinks once and stays. The merchant continues. When you chase your wish, you teach it fear. When you stand in calm faith, you teach it trust. The truth is simple. Creation does not come through pursuit, but through presence. The slower your breath, the nearer the bird stays. He kneels beside the water. "Discipline isn't harshness," he murmurs. "It is return, the daily act of remembering." His tone carries no weight of demand, only steadiness. A dream grows familiar as you keep it near. Attention repeated becomes belief, and belief, when held long enough, feels real before the world agrees. His eyes lift toward you. That feeling is creation's soil. The words echo something from before, the idea that belief steadies a dream, but now you see its depth. This is the practice of living from the end, of standing within the dream as though it already breathes. Each quiet return to vision makes it less distant, more natural. That inner familiarity is what draws the external to match it. The bird tilts its head, curious now. The merchant watches its small movements with tender precision. "Every wild thing," he says softly, "mirrors the mind that meets it. Demand scatters, devotion gathers, he lets you absorb that." The bird edges closer, wings low. The space between wanting and receiving narrows with every calm breath. You rest your hands on your knees, offering stillness instead of approach. The bird shifts again, closer still. There's no moment of capture, only gentle agreement. The merchant nods once. To hold a dream, he says, you must first make peace with the space it needs to grow. The truth lands easily. You realize taming is not control. It is collaboration, an unspoken trust built through attention that neither grasps nor demands. A faint memory stirs, times when forcing progress only pushed it further out of reach. You see now that creation requires a quieter kind of strength, the willingness to return without anxiety. Belief in this sense is patience embodied. It is the rhythm of tending what cannot yet be seen, knowing it is already taking shape. The bird steps nearer until it stands before your open palm. You do not move, and in your restraint lies understanding. The merchant's voice is almost a whisper. It begins, he says, when you stop trying to prove and start abiding in what already is. You extend your hand slightly, open and honest. The bird hops forward and lands. Warmth spreads through you, subtle but certain, like a thought finding form. The merchant smiles, not in victory, but recognition. So, he says, you've learned the rhythm of creation. Behind his calm tone is something more precise. Each steady return, each quiet assumption, weaves belief into substance. The world answers by reflecting your persistence. The bird remains, soft pulse matching your own. The lesson is no longer metaphor, it is realization. He gestures lightly toward the scene. See how it comes, not through force but through familiarity. This is discipline, to hold the dream often enough that it begins to feel natural. When the dream feels real here, he touches his chest. The outer world must follow. His words give clear shape to what you felt growing inside. The law of assumption expressed without naming it. As dusk deepens, the bird lifts lightly from your palm and circles once above the courtyard. Its silver wings catch the dim light, then rest upon a nearby ledge. What you call luck, or timing, or grace, the merchant says, eyes following its arc, is often what you have tamed returning in another form. Faith, repeated until it feels ordinary, shapes the unseen currents of your world. The line lands softly, bridging mystery with logic. You feel the truth hum quietly beneath it. You sense something shift in the air, not magic, but understanding. The dream is no longer external. It is a rhythm that answers attention. You realize that consistency is love in practice, the invisible work of molding belief into being. What draws near is not reward, but reflection. The bird, the dream, the moment. They all respond to the tone of inner certainty you've begun to hold. The merchant turns toward you, expression thoughtful. Everything responds to its maker, he says. But few pause long enough to recognize who that maker is. The idea stills the space between you. The tone is neither mysterious nor heavy, just true. His eyes share quiet reassurance, as though preparing you for what's next. The courtyard grows dim. Water murmurs through its shallow path. You breathe, feeling the texture of peace that follows the work of patience. The bird watches from its perch, faint shimmer fading into gray. The merchant begins to walk again, his steps calm across the stone. Lifting a small lamp, he gestures ahead. You follow, silence thick but gentle between you. Whatever waits beyond this stillness feels near. The lesson on taming has lightened you. It has shifted attention from effort to essence. You carry with you the certainty that what you nurture with faith becomes part of you. The merchant pauses near a long table draped in cloth. His hand rests upon it, steady, unhurried. The tone of his voice changes, low and reflective. "Now that you've learned to tend," he says, "it is time to see who holds the thread." The merchant moves quietly to the long table and draws back the cloth that covers it. Beneath rests a mirror veiled in pale gauze, its outline faintly glowing in the softened light. This is the mirror he calls the mirror of responsibility. The air around it feels unusually still, almost listening. Without a word, he sets it upright, hands steady on its frame, and steps aside. You stand before it. The gauze breathes with the slow rhythm of air. Its lightness tempts curiosity, yet some part of you hesitates. The merchant's calm gives no direction beyond presence itself. At last, his voice arrives, gentle but clear. "When you are ready," he says, "lift the veil and meet the author of your dream." Your hand moves toward it, uncertain but drawn. The fabric is soft, cool, faintly textured like woven mist. As you lift it away, the air shifts, catching a hint of light. The mirror straightens, inhaling the dimness of the room and exhaling reflection. What gazes back is not the merchant, not a vision, not even another lesson, only you. The recognition lands quietly but fully. The author of everything imagined has been waiting inside your own gaze. For a moment, your mind tries to argue. You want mystery, perhaps another symbol to decode. Instead, the mirror offers something simpler and harder: truth without disguise. Your reflection is ordinary, yet altered by awareness. You see patience in the lines of your eyes, calm at the edges of your mouth. In the quiet, what you truly recognize is authorship, creation that begins and returns within. The merchant watches, eyes lowered in respect. "This is the one who has been calling the dream," he says softly. "Every light you chased, every vision you shaped, began with this." The words do not accuse, they affirm. The mirror feels lighter now, as though it only reflects what you are prepared to hold. You sense how every symbol, the glowing sand, the silver bird, was never apart from you. They were your qualities, waiting to be remembered. The reflection deepens. You glimpse the unseen corridors of your own imagination, where those forms still breathe. They are not artifacts of the merchant's market, but facets of your awareness. The realization steadies you. What you create, you must tend. What you awaken, you must guide with care. Freedom and responsibility share the same root. The silence between you lengthens until you speak. "Is this why you teach through images?" He nods. "The heart understands mirrors better than instruction," he says. "When you see yourself as the maker, the teaching is complete." The words hold warmth rather than finality. You study the reflection, not for beauty or flaws, but for presence. It feels neither exalted nor diminished. You see how ordinary stillness can carry profound meaning. Self-authorship is not ownership. It is participation in the ongoing act of creation. A calm understanding settles. The power that calls a dream into form also asks for care. To look away is to let it wither. To remain attentive is to let it mature. Around the mirror, light softens into a muted gray, as if thought itself has texture. You begin to grasp that imagination and responsibility are not separate. They are two sides of the same focus. To imagine is to commit to what imagination produces. The merchant steps closer, the tone of a patient guide returning. "The dream bends where your hand guides," he says. The simplicity anchors the idea. Every assumption, every quiet repetition of belief draws thread through unseen fabric. The pattern you live is the pattern you have woven. The mirror pulses with that truth, steady and unadorned. Then his voice lowers further. "You become responsible forever for what you have tamed." The words echo softly, carrying the weight of both lesson and promise. You think of the bird's trust, the stillness it required. Responsibility now feels luminous, not heavy. The gentle gravity of tending something you once called forth. A quiet humility rises in you. You understand that creating and caring cannot be separated. One completes the other. To dream is to plant, and planting means nurturing what follows. The mirror no longer intimidates. It rests in front of you like an open field, showing nothing new except what has always been yours to guide. There are no grand revelations left, only the steady realization that awareness itself is transformative. The dream does not demand perfection, only presence. Its growth depends on whether you return to it again and again with patience and belief. The merchant lowers the gauze gently over the mirror once more. The act does not conceal but acknowledges completion. He folds the cloth carefully, sets it aside, and allows silence to expand. Even the air seems to settle into this new balance between seeing and being. You notice that the mirror's frame carries a faint internal glow, catching traces of your reflection as it was and as it is. The difference is subtle, a quiet recognition replacing wondering, a sense of belonging to the creation rather than hovering outside it. What lingers is understanding. You shape what you attend to, and in doing so, you agree to care for it. The merchant's gaze softens. "The dream now breathes through you," he says, his words as calm as still water. "Its life follows the measure of your care. What once sounded mystical now feels practical, almost natural." The truth lies in the simple weight of choice. Every belief lived through consistency becomes experience. Every image tended in calm faith appears in time as form. You stand back, sensing the echo of the moment rather than its end. The mirror captures a sliver of light that glances across your face, a mark of quiet inheritance. Responsibility no longer feels like burden or task. It feels like kinship with life's unfolding, the steady agreement to remain awake within your own creation. When the merchant turns away, the faint sound of his steps seems to blend with the hush around you. The space feels larger but not empty. Within it remains a pulse of clarity, the knowing that imagination is stewardship. What breathes through your vision relies on your attention to keep living. For a long breath, the air holds still, as if waiting for the next movement. Somewhere in that waiting, you sense a new question forming, one that asks not only how to create, but how to share. The silence leans toward that unknown direction, gentle as dawn before light. The air feels newly open, as though the last lesson has made room for the next. The merchant, still calm in his movement, steps toward the back of the room where faint traces of light gather near a low wooden chest. As his fingers rest upon its lid, he looks to you and says quietly, "Now we come to the ethics of dream giving." The phrase feels both tender and weighty. He lifts the lid, and a hush follows. From inside the chest rises a soft radiance, neither glare nor glow, but a warmth that spreads evenly through the space. Within lie rows of small glass vials, each holding a pale mist that shifts with the rhythm of breath. The colors are subtle shades of dawn: amber, rose, gray gold. The light trembles through the glass as though alive. The merchant gestures for you to come closer. Each one, he says, is a dream once fulfilled and freely given away. Not lost, not forgotten. Offered, you watch as he traces one fingertip along a vial's surface. The motion is reverent, unhurried. Some, he continues, reach the point when a dream has taught them everything it can. To cling beyond that point would turn living vision into weight. So they let it go, allowing its life to move onward. You look down, seeing how the mists stir within their crystal walls. It feels impossible that something so delicate could hold meaning. Why give it away? You ask. His gaze lifts, quiet but sure. Because creation matures through circulation, he replies. What imagination births is never meant to be stored. A dream becomes complete only when it inspires another. The thought settles deeply. You recall the lessons before: belief as soil, patience as nurturing, reflection as responsibility. Now comes the natural next step. What grows must also give. Every act of creation, the merchant implies, belongs to a greater current of exchange. The energy you send forth through generosity returns as expansion, not depletion. He picks up a vial and holds it between his palms. Inside, the light folds and unfolds like breathing silk. To offer a dream, he says softly, is to trust abundance. You cannot outgive creation. The very act of giving proves there is more than enough. You feel the resonance of that truth. In ordinary life, many hold their ideas tightly, fearing they might vanish when shared. Here, generosity is strength. The merchant watches your reaction with steady kindness. Scarcity is the mind's illusion, he says. It teaches that giving bends the flow when in truth, giving widens it. Refusing to share your gift slows the tide that nourishes you. Something in his tone bridges the spiritual and the practical. This is not charity as loss, but giving as participation in life's rhythm. You recall tending the silver bird, how trust once granted multiplied peace rather than fear. So it is with dreams. Belief invites them to grow, and release allows them to serve others. The merchant lowers his voice. When you give freely, you do not lose what you made. You confirm it as real. The dream now exists beyond your keeping, and because it lives in many hearts, it grows stronger. The mists shimmer faintly with his words, as if agreeing. Another whisper follows. A flame lights another flame. Neither grows dim. He returns the vial to its place. Light ripples briefly before settling. To give what you love, he continues, is to act as creation itself acts, endlessly expressing, never hoarding. That movement is what turns imagination into abundance. You sense how this teaching completes the earlier ones. What you believe begins the dream. What you patiently tend gives it shape. What you share assures its life. You consider what happens if someone receives such a dream and does nothing. The merchant's pause is long enough to carry its own meaning. Then he speaks. Dreams are patient. If left untouched, they wait for another bearer. They seek out the willing. Nothing imagined with love is ever wasted. His calmness feels both humbling and consoling. He shuts the chest halfway, allowing only a thread of light to escape through the carved designs of vines and waves. The gleam traces soft pathways across his fingers. Each time a dream is offered, he says, Its essence multiplies through consciousness. Every act of sharing strengthens the pattern of trust that made it. For a moment, you simply watch the faint shimmer within the chest, the small communion of light and mist. You realize this ritual is not about leaving with treasures, but learning how to release them. Creation, in this way, is not measured by what is kept, but by what continues. The merchant nods toward you. To dream well, he says, is to make what can nourish others. That is the only proof of worth a creator ever needs. His voice carries quiet authority, the kind that confirms what the heart already knows. True abundance is not accumulation. It is open-handedness. The air grows warmer. The lights in the vials blend into a single soft glow, neither bright nor dim, like the calm just before evening. The room feels fuller, though nothing has been added. You understand this fullness as the feeling of expanded faith, the proof that giving is a form of creation itself. He smooths his palm over the lid until the carvings catch the last traces of gleam, forming small threads of gold that seem to weave one dream into another. All that lives in harmony, he murmurs, learns to give and receive without fear. The current is the same. You breathe quietly, realizing that everything you have learned, belief, patience, reflection, generosity, forms one unbroken circle. The merchant's expression softens, knowing you see it too. He closes the chest fully, but keeps his hand resting on it, as if sealing the lesson into your understanding. When the dream flows through you into the world, he says, it becomes the world's to keep alive. This is how creation continues, through trust. The scent in the air turns subtle, thread-like, the faint sweetness of something finishing its journey. The room eases into stillness. The merchant's outline drifts at the edges, as though shape itself begins to loosen. He inclines his head slightly, neither farewell nor continuation, simply acknowledgement. Behind him, the room hums with quiet completion. The vials no longer shine. Their light has entered the atmosphere, gentle and unseen. You feel its echo inside, a calm readiness, as if space has been made for whatever comes next. The merchant turns as if guided by that same quiet. The cloth curtain stirs, and his hand gathers the lamp from the corner table. The flame within it steadies once, then lowers. You can still sense him there, familiar as breathing, but also beginning to fade. Nothing in the space feels empty. The stillness carries promise, a living pause rather than an ending. Somewhere in that hush, you sense the transition, the moment before presence becomes memory, before light folds back into quiet. The quiet vanishing begins not with absence, but with breath. The air in the shop grows light, carrying a faint quiet that feels alive at its edges. Incense, once thick and fragrant, rises in one final curl before fading into calm. Sound loosens from shape. Even the floor's faint whisper seems to drift. You sense the world itself settling, not closing, but moving inward towards stillness. You turn to find the merchant, but where he stood there is only air, soft and undisturbed. His voice remains low and warm, perhaps memory, perhaps echo. Carry what you have tamed into every waking hour. The syllables rest in the chest more than the ear, their warmth spreading through the pulse of your breath. It feels less like instruction and more like reassurance. The silence that follows is complete but gentle, as if the lesson itself chose quietness as its final word. A soft stirring comes from behind. The fabric curtains sway once, their motion steady and deliberate. Threads settle like wings folding. Somewhere distant, bells sigh one last time, disappearing into a still rhythm that could be your own. The floor seems to breathe along with you, warm, cool, and warm again. The distinction between your pulse and the rooms begins to blur. The shop softens around you. Walls lose their edges. The familiar shimmer of fabric dims to a quiet gray. Each ripple of mist smooths into transparency. Light and shadow trade places until there is only even calm. What was once filled with so many symbols, the bowl, the bird, the mirror, becomes weightless. Nothing vanishes so much as returns to its origin. In the mirror's dim reflection, you catch a faint glint, not an image, but movement, as if something behind the glass breathes and releases. It shows not loss, only transfer. You understand that what was external has folded inward. The merchant's presence was never separate from you. It was the part of knowing waiting for its own recognition. His fading is a sign that the work is complete. You remember how stories end when the student begins. Across traditions, the teacher's vanishing is not erasure, but proof that the learner now holds the flame. Every sound, every gesture was preparing you to listen from within. Now that you do, the guide's form is no longer needed. The quiet fills that space easily, with no sense of lack. The air around you moves like a breath drawn by the world itself. Each inhale widens what remains of the room. Each exhale softens it again. The joining of sound and silence is seamless. The faint echo of bells becomes heartbeat, and heartbeat becomes the rhythm of awareness. This is the still moment where separation dissolves. Then, slowly, you notice that endings can feel like beginnings wearing softer clothes. Nothing urges you forward or holds you back. You simply exist between pulses, carrying the echo of his words. The space you stand in feels porous, almost alive. The way air after rain still carries the scent of what passed through. Light withdraws with grace. Fabrics fold themselves, their shimmer slipping into shadow. The glow along the floor fades layer by layer until it merges with the dark beneath. You reach out, finding only air warmed by memory. The quiet that surrounds you is content, as if nothing needs protecting. What once guided you stands now within, unspoken but steady. He has not left. The awareness comes quietly, without surprise. His presence has changed form, becoming rhythm, breath, pulse, and patient stillness. The shop itself leans into that truth, the way a wave leans toward shore. You feel his teaching in each exhale. Patience over urgency, grace over demand. It is enough simply to breathe and remember. Mist gathers closer to the floor, folding like linen. The counters, the shelves, the colored drapes, all begin to blur until they are impressions rather than structures. The lanterns yield the last of their warmth to darkness. Through the open space where walls used to stand, night stretches vast and simple. The fragrance of sandalwood remains, a thread binding silence to memory. And then, only openness. No walls, no ceiling, just calm air turning clear. The world outside and inside seem to exchange light. Everything you see feels less like a scene than a state of mind. Soft stars appear above, their shimmer inviting stillness. The pulse in your chest keeps pace, neither hurried nor slow, just sure. You think of the merchant's parting words and how they blend with breath. Carry what you have tamed. It is a gentle reminder that the creation you tended through imagination now lives with you, waking and sleeping. Belief and patience are no longer practice, they are nature. The feeling of guiding your own dream settles like evening air, familiar and enough. The quiet holds for longer now. The absence has become presence. You notice how peace feels tangible when nothing chases it. This is the state he taught without naming, the calm where dreaming and living fold into one rhythm. Above you, the stars shine simply, not asking for interpretation. Their distance feels kind, their light steady. In that moment, you understand that guidance continues, not through figure or symbol, but through awareness itself. To remember is to listen. To live is to affirm what was shown. A new trust grows in that silence. It carries no rituals, no promise, just the sense that what you imagine with kindness will find its own shape. The urge to hold on fades. The warmth of release replaces it. You realize that everything built through care, belief, generosity, attention, has been leading you here, to this plain stillness that asks only rest. The night deepens without darkness. You are not leaving the shop. The shop is becoming everything around you. Space opens like breath after understanding. The rhythm between body and world steadies. The two pulse together in quiet balance. Each spark in the sky might be the start of another dream, already waiting its turn. When you breathe again, breath becomes breeze. The mist folds, the light softens, and all edges dissolve. There is only calm. The story feels complete but alive. In your quiet heart, a small certainty forms. The dream never ends. It continues wherever awareness moves next. You rest in that awareness, the simple act of being, no longer seeking sign or teacher. What remains is peace grounded in motionless presence. From here, imagination feels close, ready to unfold again when called. As you stand in that calm, the world's breath and your own feel identical. There is no separation between what is seen and what is possible. The quiet vanishing leaves not emptiness, but space for new creation, waiting for its next shape to rise. And as the stillness settles, a single thought drifts through, soft as wind on glass. The beginning was never elsewhere. It has always been here, in the moment where breath meets vision, where the unseen begins to take form. Imagination is not escape, it is participation, the meeting point between thought and form. Each idea, each calm vision, begins the work of creation. The dream merchant's lessons remain simple. Attend with care, believe with patience, and release with trust.